I've got something to share today, and I wanted to do it in this forum for a couple of reasons. I'm kind of excited to have made a fundamental change in my life. Well, at least it's underway anyway. But it's scary, and I guess change usually is. But I'm sticking to my guns, even though it's hard because I owe it to myself. So I've been dropping hints kind of on this topic all along this year, and if you've been following my feed, you might have seen those and been like, "Whoa, I don't know what he's doing or what's going on." But I wanted to kind of address that today. So here it is. So I grew up in a blue collar family. My family, nobody in my family ever graduated from college. My grandparents went through the Depression, and they were always concerned about money. These people saved and recycled everything before it was even cool. And I'm talking about tinfoil, rubber bands, newspapers, serious pack rats. So, talk about tight. There's a story in my family goes that my grandmother brought over a cake one day and then asked my mom if she could get it reimbursed for the ingredients to bake that cake. So, and I'm not bringing this up to, I'm not bringing this up to put shame upon their memory, just the opposite. Because I think we're informed by our environment, and these people taught me an important lesson that a penny saved is a penny earned. Anyway, so on with my story. So my parents got divorced when I was about 5, and my mom got a child support check for $260 a month for both of us kids, and even then that wasn't a lot of money. So we were broke. And in fact, one summer we spent living in a trailer up in Northern California, up in Calaveras County, and like 110-degree days. And I was just a kid, so I thought we were just camping like for a long time. But I'm pretty sure now that I look back on it, as we lived there because we had a few other options. So there was kind of an important event that happened while we were there. And I remember it was one hot day and we went to the grocery store, and my sister started pitching a fit in the checkout line, and my mom, it was a rare occasion, but my mom actually caved and said, "Okay, you can get an ice cream bar." And then she looked at me and she said, "Of course you can have one too." And man, did I want an ice cream cone that day. But for the first time maybe in my whole life, I remember it like it was yesterday. I said, "That's okay, Mom. I can do without an ice cream cone." Because I knew we were broke, and I knew it was tough just putting food on the table. And I certainly didn't need an ice cream cone that day. I felt so proud of myself for that, because maybe for the first time I had actually not been looking out for me and was looking out for my world as I knew it, which was my family. And I still remember that day like it was yesterday. And it's an important thing about what I wanted to talk about today. And I wanted to share this from the heart, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of my backstory. So anyway, my parents worked really hard for a living. My dad was a commercial painter. My mom was a waitress. And everything we had was hard earned, like physically hard work. And all of these factors kind of influenced how I viewed money and abundance. And on the good side, they made me scrappy, and they made me watch, out for every dollar and understand the true value of a dollar. And some of the results were that, I was the first to graduate from college, and I began making more money than anyone in my family ever had, but I was still hanging on to every dollar. And when you spend a lifetime thinking this way, it's pretty hard to even think about or know anything different. And so while I appreciate my understanding of money and feel that I truly do know the value of a dollar, I I have an extremely hard work ethic because of it. It's also come with some liabilities. And the liabilities for me is that it's hard for me to turn my attention outward and towards the world when I know that I could help others. And that makes me feel small. And I'm kind of ashamed of it a little bit. I have a lot of gifts to give. So, as I thought about this more, I realized that I also had an issue with high school that left kind of a deep scar on me. And there's a couple people on this thread that have joined me on here that actually I went to high school together. And so they'll probably attest to this. But because I grew up having to earn everything I got, it made me scrappy. And it also made me arrogant. Because I thought I was smarter and I worked harder than other people. I thought I owed it to them to tell them that somehow. And since I was constantly challenging myself to be better, I told other people that they should try to be better. And it turns out people don't like that very much. So I suffered my last couple of years of high school with people calling me names and tearing me down because that's probably what they felt I was doing to them. And it worked. They took me down a notch, and I quit seeing the world as my oyster, and I quit living large, and I resisted sticking my neck out like I used to do for fear of catching a tomato, and I'm kind of sad about that. But I'm hopeful that this new goal that I have that I'm about to tell you about is going to help me reverse that and live in a bigger way. So I'm not sharing this story as an excuse of why I haven't been generous in the past. In fact, I think I've donated 100% of the time I've ever been asked to contribute to something. But I've never done anything big like this because I've been waiting around for some, sign from God, I guess, that I'd actually achieved enough for myself that I could finally help out some other people. And I've come to realize that this is just the wrong way to think about that. So I'm turning over a new leaf. And maybe, just maybe, there's someone listening who had a similar upbringing or a similar thought pattern, and maybe my sharing today will kind of help you start thinking about things differently. I don't know. But so what's my new goal? Why am I having this thing? I'm getting to that, I promise. But first, I think you should hear the story about how I arrived at it. So I was at a conference this last year called Thrive, Make Money Matter. And I learned about this guy who had this total golden upbringing. His name was Adam Braun. Grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, graduated from Yale or Harvard, I don't remember, but he had a complete life of privilege. And one year he decided to go traveling. And he traveled around the world. And if you don't know my story, my wife and I did this exact same thing. We spent 10 months traveling around the world. And so I kind of connected with his story right away. And he would start to ask these kids, if you could have one thing, what would it be? And he heard a very common but curious reply. And what these kids would say is they'd say, I want a pencil. And he was shocked. He was like, coming from the background of the embarrassing riches that he was from, he's like, really, a pencil? That's what you want most? And what he learned was that these kids, they couldn't attend school unless they have their own school supplies. And literally, the cost of a pencil was keeping some beautiful kid from getting educated. And when I heard the story, now that I have kids, I just burst into tears because education was the one thing that my mother made sure that I had and that she was invested in. And from meeting with my teachers to lecturing me about getting a B+, my mom knew that the secret to prosperity and escaping the poverty cycle that my family had been in was education. And it was right then and there that my life changed. And I haven't been able to change it back. So I learned that Adam flew home and he quit this cushy gig that he had, and he started a foundation, and it's called Pencils of Promise. And he started asking his friends and his family and his associates to help build a school. And it was such a life-changing experience for him that he built another. And then he built another. And then he decided that he was going to start this foundation that built schools. And so I was looking at this guy on stage, and I'm like, if that guy could do that, I could build at least one damn school. One school that's going to leave a legacy and have a ripple effect in a community that will last forever. And if I die the day after it's done, I'll have done something amazing in the world that will help a lot of people. But the deal is I can't do it by myself. And so that's why I'm here on Giving Tuesday talking to you about this and revealing a little bit about my story. The school costs 35 grand, and I've checked this charity out from top to bottom, and they're amazing. 100% of the donations go directly towards building schools. They have other sponsors that handle the administrative stuff. They don't have a bunch of overpaid executives that are, making a bazillion dollars managing this thing. This is the real deal. And one of the countries that my wife and I visited while we were traveling was Guatemala. And so that's where I would love to help build this school. But I can't do it alone. And I need your help. I'm trying to help the world, but it feels scary. And I don't know if I can do it, but I've decided that I have to make a major impact. And I think I can build one school with the help from my community. And so I used to think that, like one day after I was worth millions, maybe I'd do something like this, but that day hasn't ever come. And I'm about to turn 50. So I'm starting now with what I've got. And I think that was a major message from this Thrive thing that I attended was, I got to start with what I've got. And really, I've got a lot of gifts. I have amazing friends, an amazing family, I have an amazing wife, and an amazing community. And so I've just decided I'm going to throw a stake in the ground, even though it's scary and even though I might fail, that I'm going to try to do this thing. And I'd love it if you could help. So maybe you can give in honor of one of the teachers in your life that really made an impact, that really lit that flame for you, that made you see things in a different way or inspired you to go off into the profession that you love today. Maybe that's your inspiration. Or if I've ever helped you or inspired you or made you laugh or donated to your cause, or you want to use that as your reason to help, I'd love for your help. So if you're looking for a way to make a major impact right now with what you could give, I'd be honored if you decided to help. If you believe in education and you understand the ripple effect that it has for generations to come, I would love to have your contribution.